Workers are starting to wage battles at Amazon warehouses for unionization. And we saw Bessemer, we saw Staten Island 8, and I'm sure Tatiana and Molly are a formidable writing team. They wrote this last Sunday, and we did not, again, I curate the show all week, so by Saturday night, the show's pretty much set up, and I saw this, and I'm like, oh man, we need to put this in and talk about this, because the three warehouses are fighting to unionize. Okay, 2 in Staten Island and 1 in Bessemer, which again we know about. So this is again Left Voice. Shout out to Left Voice for doing some great work this week, and over the last couple of years since I've been paying attention to them. And thank you to Lee Camp for turning me on to Left Voice in the first place. I distinctly remember him sharing an article and going, wow, I've never heard of these guys. And the more I see, I agree with quite a bit of what they publish, and I really appreciate their coverage. And we've got a crack writing team. And again, I encourage everybody to subscribe to email alerts and to them on Twitter, on Instagram, to share their articles, follow them. They're even on YouTube. I don't really see much of their videos in my feed. Maybe I'm not subscribed to them yet. Take a look at that. But Amazon, Bessemer, over 6,100 workers got a ballot yesterday for a mail-in election with a March 25th deadline. So last year, there was the effort failed, but there was a massive union busting campaign by corporate themselves. And again, Left Voice did an amazing job. They had people on the ground for a month, I believe, in Bessemer before the vote happened.
Right.
Documenting some of the tactics that were used by Amazon corporate, like forcing the workers to attend mandatory anti-union lectures. They pressured the city into changing the timing of the traffic light in order to disrupt organizing efforts. I remember that. The organizers were trying to catch the people at the traffic light after they left work and talk to them about the union. And so they got Amazon got the city to change the timing of the light so that they couldn't stand out there and have that conversation. Strong arm
right.
the postal service, right? They moved the mail, they installed the mailbox that was explicitly barred in the Amazon branded ballot collecting tent, which is illegal. And the NLRB determined that because of that, they ordered a new union vote, which is why we're seeing this. It's a year later. They literally delayed this for a year. They made it a whole lot bigger spectacle. Again, and that only got, I believe, 16 or 18% support. Again, we're hoping that it's gonna pass and it will get more support. Would it have even had that much support at all if they had drawn this much attention? I don't know.
Yeah. How does the mailbox fuck with stuff? I mean, I know it's been
the deal is that the bosses, it's a company branded tent. Apparently there was some kind of a monitor on who went in there, first of all. And then, based upon that, I'm sure they could look at the ballots and try to back into figuring out who submitted ballots for unionization. Right. So again, you've got JFK 8, which was again attempted to unionize but withdrew only to refile in December. And again, you've got Chris Smalls. He's one of the leaders who was fired from protesting Amazon's lack of safety measures. Shout out to Chris Smalls, friend of the show. Follow him on Instagram and follow him on Twitter at Shutdown Amazon. Amazon is the country's second largest private employer after Walmart and is notorious for horrendous working conditions. Again, talking about some of the extremely hot warehouses without ventilation, talking about how it's so taxing on the body, the breaks, how you're literally measured down to the second. Multiple workers have died on the job at Amazon warehouses. Of course, we know about the 6 that died in the Kentucky warehouse that and 2 died at Bessemer. So we covered that. One suffered a stroke after being told by management that he couldn't leave, and hours later that worker died. I believe we even covered that. Then you had Prashan Brown, who was the person that was died, and they don't even know if she died of COVID, but she was testing people with COVID for COVID. I mean, it's beyond crazy.
Yeah.
So a couple of people that worked directly with him were badly shaken up, wanted to go home. We're not allowed to, right? Here, so again, Striketober, they're referencing when we had Kellogg's and John Deere and a lot of these strikes that have since been settled. A lot of them, they didn't get what they had hoped for, and a lot of the things had not quite panned out the right way, but were touted in the mainstream press or even in the labor press as wins because they got minor concessions, or the company just said, look, we're not going to fire the employees. That was the concession that we're striking, which I didn't think was much of a concession. But certainly getting those people their jobs back would help. I mean, that's the reason why they were striking in the first place. But again, you've got dozens of Starbucks stores that are now filing to unionize, and we've been covering the Great Resignation and how I think it's 10% of the entire workforce in the last 2 years since the pandemic started has quit their job, if not more, or has changed jobs, or has lost a job.
Yep.
I think that might even be higher. But again, you've got the disconnect among the working class is also expressing itself in more direct ways through mobilization and action, which is excellent. Okay, again, we support direct worker action in all cases. Amazon warehouses in Chicago walked off the job, and they were demanding wage increases. And its success at Amazon may unleash a wave of unionization filings, which we're hoping to get. So again, as long as these unions are not co-opted, and that is one of the keys, is that you don't want union leadership to end up turning into its own corporate structure that then has to manage the relationship itself and gatekeep for the employees themselves. Okay, here you've got Daquan Smith, who was illegally fired for trying to unionize, which, again, they've been pretty well-known union busters. And shout out to Jordan Chariton. I know that he had sent me a link for a meeting that they filmed where they were not letting union leaders out of a meeting where they were talking anti-union type of stuff.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly how that story went. I can post a link to that. But here, as far as first Bessemer Amazon unionization drive showed, to win a union is not enough to rely on Democratic Party politicians and celebrity endorsements. Right. Okay. RWDSU was criticized from their own pages and Jane McAlevey, and saying that they had no structure, they had no grassroots movement. Because I asked Jane McAlevey, I asked her on Katie Halper's show specifically about that, because I was a mod and I got the chance to ask that because I'm also a patron of hers. But again, great article by Tatiana and Molly. Tatiana is definitely a member of the All-Star team, and Molly seems to be helping out with some of the background research. I don't know how much one's writing or the other. But there's actually another article. I don't know if it was yesterday or if we're going to cover it tonight, but there's another article that they just recently did as well that I thought was fantastic. So shout out to Tatiana, to Molly, to Left Voice. And that, again, like I said, check out Left Voice. If you're not subscribed to them already, they're one of the better publications that I prefer to check out. And again, none of them are perfect. All of them have takes that we're going to disagree with, but this is one of the better ones out there, and I support them 100%. So now, what's up, man?
I talked to a guy who's normally in chat, Oz Whistles.
Yes.
Right? Dude's over Ireland, UK.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He was talking about the you know, their guild situations, right? Which are like similar to unions in a way, but much more like hard-lined into the politics of like the area, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like, yeah, the Builders Guild has been around for like centuries,
Oh yeah, the trade
It's like they've
unions.
weeded out a lot of like, right. It's now like ingrained, and it's to the point where like, yeah, they have stuff like apprenticeships and stuff like that are like royally declared, like that kind of stuff. Like there's, uh, like the Queen's Farrier or whatever needs a replacement, so they teach a bunch of farriers. Like they have whole schools to teach them,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, like apprenticeships
but
and like the whole.
right,
I mean, come on, that's where all that stuff kind of
yep,
came from. That whole
comes from
structure.
like, yeah.
Um,